Hi class. So I hope the information ecosystem assignment was helpful in demonstrating to you the kinds of resources that are available to you just out there on the naked internet that you can use to develop your ecosystem of information about what's going on in the world, and most importantly, what you can do in response. Developing that entrepreneurial mindset where you identify needs and then describe how you will intervene to respond to them is an important part of being a professional, and therefore an important part of writing within a business context. For this brief video and this assignment, we're going to be looking at resources that are not available on the naked internet. These are resources that are available to you through the library. So if you were working, let's say, in a large firm, you would have access to a number of research tools that your firm pays for. Some larger firms have libraries in-house. So like your larger law firms will all have a law library and a library staff for the use of members of that firm. Larger business firms will have something similar or the like, or there just simply may be resources that are available to you that your firm pays for on a subscription basis and the like. As a university student, you actually have access to all of these and more. The kinds of resources that a research library can compile would far exceed most businesses even. So this is a great place to kind of get some practice with it. Before we get started though, of course, let's not neglect that you have, at the end of the day on Monday, final drafts of the job search documents to upload. Those will be your first graded assignments this semester. So I'm sure you're as excited to finish them as I am to get to them. If you scan down the left-hand side of the Canvas site, you will see the Rutgers Libraries link. That will take you to this perplexing little blank page here, but there's a link on that page to the Business Writing Essentials Research Guide. That is a research guide compiled by the librarians specifically for students in this course. There are resources here organized in a series of pages that you can access through these tabs that will help you complete the assignments that we have for you this semester. The first page has a helpful and brief video on the research process. You'll be engaged in an independent and group research project throughout the course of the semester. We're sort of getting into that now, and we'll begin it in earnest with the letter assignment coming up very soon. But even for the email and the memo assignments, I'm expecting that you will be informing yourself about a topic that you'll begin to develop and share with your classmates as we begin to refine what might be the research projects that your group and then yourself will focus on for the remainder of the semester. This would be a good time to go back to the page in which you located this video, in which you may be playing this video, and download the assignment worksheet for this exercise. The first item will ask you to just briefly describe the topic that you selected as the need for the information ecosystem assignment. And if you're not happy with that, feel free to go back to the sources and dig around a little bit more and find something that you might be more happy with. It's not all that crucial. I want you just to have something specific and fairly defined on hand in order to guide you through this assignment and use to familiarize yourself with the library resources. The first resource I want to talk about is Access World News. This is the first in a list of general resources that the library is providing to you as a means to get yourself familiar with the topic. This is not really in-depth research. This is not accessing a lot of obscure, difficult, or profoundly useful information. It's just a way of getting a sense of what's going on with your topic so that you can begin digging into it a little further. Access World News is a useful and fascinating source. What it is a collection of local news, local newspapers, local broadcasts, and the like. So if you're looking for how the topic may affect specific local communities, this is a really great place to look. So for demonstration purposes, I'm going to be selecting a topic that I find of some interest, health literacy. So for instance, here's a Wall Street Journal article from some years past about health literacy, titled Taking Medical Jargon Out of Doctor Visits, discusses the need for sophisticated patients to be able to comprehend basic medical information. However, many patients find themselves confused by the jargon that doctors use and their instructions and the like, and that may result in the patient not receiving the kinds of medical care that they should be. So the term of art here is health literacy, being literate in matters of health. And so that's an ideal search term in order to locate more information on the issue of patients being able to understand the medical information that's being provided to them. So take a look at your topic, take a look at the source that you use to define the topic, and consider what might be a useful search term in order to locate more information. Try to identify terms that people are going to be using as a way to describe this issue from one to each other as part of a professional or business discourse. So in this case, health literacy would be the term as being identified by healthcare professionals to define the problem of being able to understand doctor information. With that in mind, let's dive into Access World News. So Access World News is an article database. It's a database of articles that is being indexed and provided for you, mostly in full text. We'll talk about different styles and resources are available through databases as we work our way through. Every database is unique, and so it's important that you come to terms with what the database contains and the interface that you use to get to that information. So the search bar is going to be a common interface. Because Access World News deals with local news, they also offer a geographical interface so that you can narrow your searches by the geography. So I could, for instance, decide that I want to focus my search on Pennsylvania, New Jersey, and Delaware. Oh, let's throw in New York State and Connecticut. And Maryland. So that's the Mid-Atlantic region. Well, plus Connecticut. I mean, some people consider Connecticut New England. Some may not. And I want to look for articles dealing with health literacy. Right away I can see I've got nearly 60,000 results, which is way too many to be particularly effective. So I'd want to narrow that down. There are a number of options that you'd want to consider narrowing down your search results, such as by date. I could narrow it down further by region. In this case, too, I might want to be looking at a specific subset of health literacy, identify a specific population, a specific type of health issue, or the like. Most databases will allow you to narrow it by type of source and the like, and that might be useful as well. So for instance, if I wanted to look at the issue as is being represented in college newspapers, I would have only 376 articles to look at, including possibly an article from our very own Targum about Virtual Rutgers Day earlier this year. I'm not going to get into that now. I'm just using health literacy as a way to demonstrate how to use the websites. And I'll continue to do so as we move on. So let's move on. There are a few other general information resources that the library is providing here for you. CQ Researcher is a good one to take a look at. So CQ Researcher is a journalism firm in Washington, D.C. that tries to provide information to lobbyists, members of Congress, and the like on pertinent issues related to public policy. And so they have a number of articles available on issues that offer extensive background information as well as reading lists. Factiva is Dow Jones, so that's the Wall Street Journal, plus a lot of other business-related documentation. Let's dive in and take a look. You should note that if you're accessing these databases from off-campus, that at some point you're going to be asked to log in with your NetID and password. Factiva is an enormous database of all kinds of business-related information, including business publications. So just dumping a term in here, of course, is going to result in lots and lots of information. And some of it quite specific, some of it maybe not very much useful at all, but it's certainly a place to take a look and see what you might be able to find. So Factiva is going to show you the frequency of the term and its results over time. It's going to show you, well, it identifies them as companies, but you know, the Taliban would not be a company, nor would the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, but they are organizations that are mentioned or have some kind of involvement with the issue, breaks down the sources, and also further breaks down the subjects. Let's go to social issues. Oh, and so here we have very recent worrying findings from regional mental health report from the Port Lincoln Times. Okay. So this is specific to Australia. New report into mental health in regional and rural Australia has revealed the mental health of young people is worsening, but there's been an improvement in the young people's mental health literacy. So this may be, you know, being around the other side of the world, too remote for it to be helpful to us, but it certainly does indicate a potential topic to help narrow down a research project looking into mental health literacy, particularly among the young. Gale eBooks, Sage Reference, subject encyclopedias will all also offer helpful background information on a topic. Let's take another look, or a closer look at another page here. So the second page in the research guide is devoted to finding statistical information. Statistics are a very persuasive piece of information to have at your disposal, and they're particularly useful in describing how much impact a problem has. It may be difficult to locate statistical information on the topic that you've chosen, but at some point over the course of the semester, you're going to be able to make a very persuasive case for why your particular topic is worth devoting more time and attention to. And one way to do that is to demonstrate the depth or the breadth of that topic's impact on a certain population. I'd recommend taking a look at the brief video here on using statistical information and then poking around to see if you can find something useful or interesting. So in this case, I have a health-related topic. So there is some resources here on health-related information. So I could, for instance, go to the National Center for Health Statistics and do a search there. And either the National Center for Health Statistics or the CDC as a whole, and then see if there's anything here that might be useful for me in making a case for the importance of health literacy as a topic. I'm going to encourage you to dig around in these resources on your own. They're chiefly governmental resources. Many people may not think about this when you think about government. Well, one of the main purposes of the government is to accumulate and then disseminate important statistical information for a variety of reasons. And you may as well be taking advantage of that information that's being provided to you. But you may find that much of your statistical information comes from just the general reading and research that you do on the topic. So we're going to close out by taking a quick look at the article databases in general. And we'll be doing much more specific and specialized work in this as we get a little further on in the semester. As you can see, the article databases on this page are handily divided into topics. These are databases that are selected for students in this class, and we'll take a look at the full range of them as well, but there are quite a few here already, and you may want to start exploring them. One I would recommend is taking a look at Academic Search Premier as an introductory database. It's, as it says, a multidisciplinary database, which means it's not focused on any single field or industry, but attempts to cover scholarship, research, and alike from a broad range of disciplines. The focus is on academic research, and we'll get into the distinction between scholarly peer-reviewed research and general information as we move along a little further. It is just, for our purposes now, a good introductory database to take a look at. So my first search yields nearly 30,000 articles. That's way too much, but the database allows me to further refine by topic. You also notice too that it will suggest search terms as I work my way through, and we're up to over 5,000, still too much. And so let's narrow down to college students. Okay, so that's certainly a lot easier to work with. It's still too many, but I can narrow it down to articles published in the past 10 years. I can narrow down by type of article. And further, to be able to get to what it is that I need. You should also note that at any point from this research guide, you can go right to the library's homepage. And the first thing that pops up on the library's homepage is a search bar that is keyed to a number of different databases, including the library's catalog, and we'll talk about that more later, but a large number of the indexes that we've already looked at, plus hundreds more. And immediately I get some books and conference proceedings that might be useful for further exploration. Luckily, these are e-books, so I don't even have to worry about making a trip to the library and dealing with their COVID restrictions, etc., so forth, and the like. So once again, that is the quick search toolbar that shows up right away, the first thing when you get to the library homepage. It's a really useful tool. It's a little too generalized and not quite comprehensive enough to be everything that you need for library research, but it certainly is a good place to start.